I want to say thank you to all my Patreon supporters and my Twitch subscribers. Join the Guardians, become a member, or become a subscriber on YouTube, Patreon, and help support the channel.
So, just talking about this, I am somebody who has left-leaning ideas, but kind of seeing the discourse and the conversation that so many people are doing on the online left is just really soured me from calling myself a leftist. Sock them, all that other good shit, and God, it's just so weird where you get people that's supposed to, represent your side, and they sound crazy. They sound crazy. And this is what we get from like people like Second Thought. And quite frankly, he's a tanky. He's a tanky that's also a rich suburban born kid that on his second channel he likes to test power cars. But it's all about the great motherfucking resolution. And I don't get that part because it sounds like, no, it doesn't sound like it because he's been said, well, we're just entertainers, so we don't plan on trying to, be thought leaders and things of that nature. Yes, you do. You have a platform and you can't escape it. It's the whole phrase. What the other side do is propaganda. What we do is public relations. And the fact that this fool sits back up here and says that I'm just an entertainer, you shouldn't listen to me, I'm just somebody who has an idea and I just want to start the conversation. When you clearly said, this is the fool that says there are no civilians. And I'm going to say it like this. If you're one of these people who believes that atrocities carried out by young men being convinced by old men to fight their wars, that, it's just one-sided, you're either delusional or you don't want to share what can actually really be happening. This man says, well, what if Germans came and says Minnesota is my ancestral home? I got a better example for you. None of these people would be dead to rights if they says, people that are black should go to the suburbs and cause devastation like it was created on October 7th. They would have a shit fit. And somebody who's for that could say, well, the black people are just going for liberation. They would have a shit fit. As a matter of fact, I was watching just the other day, TYT was like, who have been rah-rah champion, especially Cenk Uygur, been rah-rah champion the fact that, what are the Palestinians supposed to do? They've been living in shame, and you've been making them feel bad for this long time. But don't forget, Martin Luther King was a peaceful representative and wanted peace. These people, I would say they don't have consistency, but no, they have consistency. It's whatever makes them feel like they're right instead of examining shit. Because here's the thing. I think housing should be decommodified. I think we should have a decommodified healthcare system. But when you put me in the same camp as these people who says there's no civilians, motherfucker, you part of a group that somebody can claim that there are no civilians too. But I'm rambling. Let's get on with the video. Let's go.
It is brought to you by Ground News.
And I'm gonna speed it up.
Authoritarianism, the practice of eating only people who have published books. Wait, that's not right. Authoritarianism. Truly one of the words of all time. A decadent 7 syllables long and wonderfully vague.
It's not vague. You want it to be vague. You wanted to lose value because here's the thing. What you want is your own strongman. Somebody that believes like you do and will just come in and motherfucking press the issue like you want the issue to be pressed. A lot of these people, and I know they said horseshoe theory was BS, but a lot of people they just want their own brand of strongman. Instead of thinking that there is a country of 330 million people, and let me try to convince those people for our side, it's, well, no, they just don't need to vote. Or no, we if you can't accept what I'm telling you, then you haven't read any theory and you're just stupid. What's up, Bill? But let's hear this. Let's hear why authoritarianism. We need to talk about authoritarianism.
If you've ever had a conversation about politics, and if you're watching this channel, I'm sure you have, you've likely heard someone use the term, or maybe you've even used it yourself. It's popular in pretty much every corner of the mainstream political spectrum. Liberals, conservatives, the dreaded centrists, and even some lefty groups like anarchists and libertarian socialists. But what does it mean? And what gives it so much weight in the political discourse?
So you know what it means, dog. This is the crazy stuff that I just really, really hate. Because you know what it means. You know exactly what it means. What your concern is, you don't want your particular type of authoritarianism to sound just as bad as everybody else's. Does some of the authoritarianism involve taking away human rights? Yes. Dehumanizing people for choices that they can't control? Yes. But you also want to demonize people that you just don't agree with, and you don't have the fucking skill to convince. The reason why he has this channel is not to convert people, maybe at first, but ever since this fool fell in with Hakeem and Yagopnik, it's just been the whole America bad. But let's continue.
Well, that's what this video is about. We've got a pretty poor understanding of what authority is here in the West, but I bet we can fix that.
Authoritarianism and authority is not the same thing. I understand English has a problem with defining one word for several different things. But authoritarianism, and you know this, is not the same as just listening to authority.
Let's start with the generally accepted definition. Authoritarianism, favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government, at the expense of personal freedom. Okay, this is a pretty bad definition if we're being...
How is that a bad definition? I know he's going to explain why it's bad, but how is that a bad definition? Is it because you want to run a tanky government? It's because you want to run a tanky government.
Being honest. It mentions the government in there, but doesn't really commit to being political, just kind of when you want people to follow the rules. That's not super helpful.
That's not what that's saying. And this is where the dishonesty of people like him comes in. It is not what they're saying. It is saying when you have strict obedience to authority, especially government or the party, at the expense of personal freedom. This isn't all I want to go out and, hurt somebody. No, this is you're going to follow what we tell you to do. The real term of politically correct means that you may be correct, but it's not politically correct. So you're going to fall in line to what we tell you, and then you will be politically correct. But let's go.
We're trying to nail down a heavily used term, and one that deals with some serious topics. Okay, so what if we expand it to include how people generally use the term? Generally speaking, when someone uses the word authoritarian, they are often, but not always, using it as a term to demonize a system that is different from their own, regardless of the facts. They're using it as a synonym for totalitarian, a word you don't really hear much anymore. It's sort of fallen by the wayside in favor of authoritarian, kind of like using the word commie as a slur has been superseded by tanky in the last few years.
I feel bad people call me a tanky. I feel bad. People call me a tanky. Oh, you feel bad. People call you a tanky. Damn, these people, boy. Yeah, no, because he's not a red fascist. Because there's no such thing as red fascists. There's no such thing as red fascists in Ba Sing Se. Let's go.
Same idea, different era. Both of these words, authoritarian and totalitarian, have been leveled at fascism and communism, often in a direct attempt to conflate the two. This is largely due to the US's extreme anti-communism post-World War II, to the point
What the Soviet Union had was not communism. It wasn't. It was state capitalism. It was a totalitarian state where they told you what to do, where to work, and everything else. So if you want to actually say that no, it wasn't authoritarianism, you're going to have to own totalitarianism. Either way, both are bad according to you. You just equated the two words. But let's go.
that they'd lump in their former friends, the people without whom the Allies could not have won the war, with what most people believe to be the greatest evil in history.
Just because I ally with you doesn't mean we're friends. There was no friendships. Look. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to need you to really clearly hear me. In foreign policy, there are no friends. There are no good guys. There are no bad guys. There are countries with interests. Yes, there are leaders who do evil shit, but there's no good guys. There are no bad guys. There are enemies and there are allies, not friends. I don't think these people with their myopic view of world politics need to be speaking on this. Because in the end, it's about, well, these are bad guys. These are good guys. They are countries with interests. And that interest is mostly power and security. Until these children get this. And I'm calling them children because they're acting like world politics is some Saturday morning cartoon. They will be forever stuck in a cycle of, well, this person did something bad. This country did something bad. So they must be bad guys. They have no idea of the fact that politics, they don't even know local politics, much less national politics, and they're going to step on a global stage. But let's continue.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's all well and good. People use a political term vaguely to demonize their opponents. Big surprise. But we still need some specifics. What exactly makes a state authoritarian? Well, if you have a scroll through the comments of just about any political video that talks about socialism, you'll find people ready with their pre-written list of objections, usually bundled under the prime objection, that's authoritarian. Things on that list include the existence of large prisons or labor camps, a covert police force, state media, a strongman leader, censorship, that sort of thing. And
Merica bad. Merica bad. Merica bad. Merica bad. Merica bad. How do these people get up at night? I mean, in the morning, when they just think, "Oh, I live in America, but America bad." But I'm not bad because I'm a socialist, and everybody else in America bad. Literally, if you have an idea of getting rid of people that actually do crimes, please let me hear it. I, as a black man, understand that there are people that go to jail for crimes that they didn't commit or over policing, but there are people who are noticeably criminals that deserve time away from society. They need to be put in a place away from society for our safety and theirs. Is some of it informed by poverty? Is some of it informed by the drug war? Yes. But what is your solution other than saying America bad? And I'm sorry, these are fucking tankies. He just capped for Stalin. Oh, the Soviets were your friends. This is Stalin. The first people that Stalin took out when he came to power were other leftists. What is your problem? Oh, no, strong man. Every criticism that he laid down just that few moments ago can be laid down at the feet of his preferred country. I mean, like, goddamn, we are above doing a whataboutism. That I'm not trying to do that. I'm asking for him to judge by the same token he wants to judge America. Because again, the Soviet Union was imperialistic too. They went over and took over countries too. Remember the first war in Afghanistan wasn't the US. But let's continue.
And to be fair, all those things do sound scary, and none of them are ideal. I think we can all agree that we'd love to live in a society where prisons didn't need to exist. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we go any further, I want to emphasize that I'm not trying to attack anyone here. The objection to authoritarianism is...
I'm not trying to attack anybody here, but I'm laying out attack patterns that my viewers are going to use. I'm not trying to attack anybody here. That's why there are no civilians, right? This is a weird frame to pause on, but let's go.
Present in a lot of different camps. People may define it a little differently. For example, a libertarian might call seatbelt laws authoritarian, while a liberal might consider the influence of the church on the government authoritarian.
Oh, and bedtimes are authoritarian. You know what it means. You're trying to downplay the word because you are fully aware of your preferred government would actually lead to. Bedtimes are authoritarian. The fuck? The fuck? Let's go.
Meanwhile, my anarchist friends are yelling from the back of the room that the very existence of a state is authoritarian and we need to abolish bedtime. Again, teasing, no offense intended. Okay, we all on the same page? Authoritarianism is a red flag for a lot of people, and there are some specific objections we can consider. So, let's consider them. Here's what we're going to do for the rest of the video. First, we'll look at the list of objections as understood by liberals. And I mean that in the broadest sense. Liberals as in subjects of liberal states, not in the conservative versus liberal sense. Then we'll look at those same objections as understood by the left. Again, pretty broadly speaking. Basically everyone from social democrats and beyond. Then finally, we'll consider a better way to understand authority and authoritarianism. Sound good?
Authority and authoritarianism. Again, why are you trying to conflate the two?
All right, liberal friends. I've got a pretty good idea of the kinds of places you feel are authoritarian. Top of the list, Soviet Union, the big one. Perhaps the target of the most intense smear campaign in history. Then we've got Cuba.
So you're saying they didn't do the shit that they said that they did? You're saying that they didn't do the shit that they said that they did? I'm sorry, I'm confused. Did they not cause mass famine? I'm okay, let's go.
China, North Korea, and likely a handful of...
This man said, hold
Top
on.
of the list, Soviet Union, the big one. Perhaps the target of the most intense smear campaign in history. Then we've got Cuba, China, North...
Now, he said China, right? Let me see if I can move it back a little bit.
...campaign in history. Then we've got Cuba, China.
There's literally proof that the government is going around and somebody said the wrong shit and the guy disappeared. Oh, you don't know, it's just free society in China. There's literal proof that when the Hong Kong riot started, they was like, no, we don't want to do this. And then the police came and crushed the resistance to what China was talking about. That's authoritarian, dog. I don't know what else you want to say about it. I'm sorry. That's authoritarian. They have a firewall around their internet to stop people from finding out about shit. The Great Tiananmen Square incident is permanently blocked. You cannot compare Xi Jinping to fucking Winnie the Pooh. It is authoritarian. It is what did he say? I'm gonna break it down. The absence of freedom or the control of the fucking states. This is authoritarian. When you can't draw a cartoon character because the head man in charge, who literally was a victim of his own father being sent to Gulag, sent away, and being sent to a worker camp because he didn't fall in line with the state. You are literally saying this is an authoritarian.
North Korea.
Again, a country who has a firewall and a literal mind wall around their people. What are you doing? Why are you capping for these people? It's okay to call them bad. You don't need a good guy on the very end to say America bad. You can actually complain about the people who are in charge. You can say this person in charge is bad. This person in charge is bad. But the people themselves, they have to follow the leader or they get disappeared. But people like this don't think about that shit. They just hear country, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. But let's go.
And likely a handful of other projects. But I think it's safe to say that these are the big ones. When you look at any of these projects, it's not difficult to see the one thing they all have in common. They're all socialist.
No, they're not. They're socialists in name only. They claim to be socialists, but they're not socialists.
And when you see this, it's not entirely unreasonable to come to the conclusion that authoritarianism is a core feature of socialism. We'll address this a bit more thoroughly in a few minutes, but suffice it to say that in the West, we may have a slightly biased opinion on the matter, through no fault of our own. We've just been subjected to nearly 100 years of Red Scare propaganda.
Again, tell me where even the shit that they said that they did was wrong. Tell me where. If you can tell me where they said that they did shit, that we just said that they did shit and they didn't do it, cool. We can have that discussion. But the things that they have their records on actually saying that they did wrong. And that's the thing about people like him. They won't even take the things that they said that they did wrong into consideration. But let's continue.
At this point, everything we're taught growing up in the imperial core, especially in the US.
People will unironically use everything we taught in the imperial core. They can really go suck on a pig because they're unironically still doing the America, the exceptional. They are unironically doing it because instead of saying America, the exceptional good, they are literally doing America, the unexceptional bad. If you have an issue with the way shit is, do like your friend, non-compete. Go move to those countries. Oh, wait, you're not? You're not. I wonder why. And even when he did move to, I think he moved to, what was it? Vietnam. He still moved to South Korea. So yeah, this shit is crazy. Look. You know what? When they start lying about their position, that's it touched my soul. Non-existent as it is, it touched my soul. But let's go.
Points us towards the conclusion that communism is evil and capitalism is righteous. But here's the part where I'm going to have to ask you to be willing to consider some unpleasant truths. And I don't say these things to engage in whataboutism or because I'm anti-American or something. Quite the contrary. contrary. I believe that in righteous. But here's the part where I'm going to have to ask you to be willing to consider some unpleasant truths. And I don't say these things to engage in whataboutism or because I'm anti-American or something. Quite.
You're saying that it's not because you're anti-American. No, that's not the reason why you're saying it. You're not disputing that you're not anti-American. It's that that's not the reason why you're saying this. Okay, let's go.
Quite the contrary. I believe that in order for any country to live up to the standards it sets for others, it needs to soberly reflect on the facts. And the facts indicate that everything we're taught about these awful authoritarian socialist countries, we are also guilty of, and often to a far greater degree.
So he's just doing a whataboutism. That's it. He's just doing a whataboutism. Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Let me elaborate. One thing that rarely gets the attention it deserves is how we talk about authoritarianism. And I mean that literally, like the very words we use. Take the DPRK. We never hear about the government of North Korea. We hear about the Kim regime. This is
The reason why is because it is a monarchy. It's a monarchy. Let's call it what it is. It went from grandfather to father to son. It's a monarchy. Any type of dressing up that you're trying to fucking do, it's a monarchy. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? It's a monarchy. You telling me that it's not a monarchy? Okay, dog. Okay. No, but they hold votes. Yeah, and Putin got 99% of the vote, popular vote. It's a monarchy.
This is common when Westerners talk about non-capitalist governments, or even capitalist ones that aren't vassal states of the US.
So what do you call it when the US talks about England? They literally talk about the crown. Wow. This is just so fucking dishonest. This is completely dishonest.
They have a regime, we and our allies have a government. The way we talk about different systems.
No, bullshit. Because here's the thing. If that was true, literally, even our allies, Saudi Arabia, they talk about the royal family. They talk about, when they talk about China, they talk about the Chinese government. Your example is just fucked up because you want to use the worst classical example. I think they should call North Korea what it is. It is a monarchy. Stop the cap. Stop the bullshit. It is a monarchy. A constitutional monarchy, but it's a monarchy still the same. But let's go.
Goes a long way towards coloring our perception of them. People criticize labor camps or secret police or any number of other scary authoritarian words. But here's the thing. We have those too. And if you look at the data, often to a far greater extent than any socialist project in history. We just don't call them by those names. We don't have secret police, we have plainclothes officers.
That's not what that is. Oh my God. Wow. That is so dishonest. We call them spies. They're called CIA agents. Don't you get that? Wow, this is completely dishonest. Or if you want to say this, they call FBI agents. People that investigate inside the country. And last time I checked, FBI wasn't a euphemism for some motherfucking great, great police force. This is stupid. The comparisons I used to watch this man, and then some started triggering me like, wait, what the fuck is going on with the way he's talking? Let's go.
Or the intelligence community. We don't have gulags, we have detention centers, which
they're not the same thing. Oh my God. No. If you are going to make this comparison, literally say we have prison work camps. Say that. Yes, the fuck we do. You giving some watered down version of something, and then you want to compare it to the worst version that you see with the Soviets or the motherfucking Chinese government type shit. You want to use the most watered down versions. We literally still have labor camps in this country. But you don't want to actually use that because you know how bad this shit is and you're using the most benign version of it so people can correlate one small benign version with the worst type. This is dishonesty. Oh my God, this is so dishonest.
By the way, house far more inmates than the Soviet Union ever did. And
that's literally, oh my God, that is a function of a growing population. Again, he won't say that shit. And I'm sorry, most of the people that went into Soviet labor camps and gulags, they weren't meant to make it out. But let's go.
And of course, we don't have slave labor, we have penal labor. We put in.
Again, this is the shit that I'm talking about. This is literally whataboutism. The thing about penal labor, and I'm sorry, it just sucks that I'm about to defend this bullshit, is that in slave labor, you're somebody's property. Unless you're doing a life sentence, eventually you can get the fuck out. But in slave labor, just for the Christians in the back, if you were somebody's slave for life, that's a bad thing. Let's go.
Inmates to work manufacturing hand sanitizer during a pandemic or fighting fires because enshrined in the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, slavery is illegal except as punishment for a crime. And a lot of the time, that crime is just being poor. A parking ticket you couldn't pay, getting caught with the same drug a rich person uses, but you don't have the money to buy yourself out of trouble.
Or maybe being rich enough to do muscle cards and sports cards on your second channel while you claim, oh, it's my socialism. And fairness for everybody.
We don't have a Ministry of War, we have a Department of Defense. Despite
we had the Ministry of War, you dumbass. It became the Department of Defense. I'm sorry, help me out with this. So, are you not supposed to have any armies? Being imperialistic or not? Are you not supposed to have any armies? How do you solve the protection of your country issue if you don't have a Department of Defense? Or you don't because you let Russia come in and take over Ukraine, or you would let Russia come in and take over Ukraine because that belongs to them or some shit bullshit.
never once fighting a defensive war. Every military action taken by the United States, from bombing hospitals to...
Wait. That's not what that means. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's called the Department of Defense, but it never fought a defensive war. Huh? It's called the Department of Defense, but it's never fought a defensive war. No, that's not what it means. It's a euphemism for our war fighting department. It's called the Department of Defense, but it never fought a defensive war. Go fucking sit in the corner. Go fucking sit in the corner.
Drone striking foreign citizens is given the cover of defense. We don't have state media or propaganda. We just have news. Those news outlets are, of course, all owned by the same corporate interests who funnel millions of dollars a year into government pockets to make sure their profits are secure. And their anchors dutifully repeat the ruling class's ideological positions.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extreme.
Okay, so let me explain the difference between corporate media and state-run media. One, if you don't toe the line, you can get fired and go on something like Twitch or Twitter X or YouTube and still make money. they don't take away your freedom in a corporate media thing. Ask Don Lemon, ask Candace Owens, ask motherfucking Tucker Carlson. But in the state-run media, you go against the party line and, well, let's ask the people. Oh, wait, you can't. They've been disappeared.
Extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Their guys are dictators, ours are presidents. Their state has a regime.
No. Does the president have too much power that should be left with Congress? Some of it should be left with Congress? Yes. But you know good and goddamn well that those two don't equate. You know good and goddamn well that those two don't equate. This is bullshit. Let's go.
Ours has a government. We are free and happy. They're oppressed and miserable. Our nuclear arsenal is for deterrence. Theirs.
A country that said they want to light up the West Coast. This is bullshit. These comparisons are bullshit.
Is a threat to global peace, despite the US being the only country on Earth to have ever used nuclear weapons. And we did it twice, on civilians, on purpose. We have a democracy, they have a dictatorship, despite by...
What's the difference? Now, you can talk about the illusion of, do your representatives really represent you, and all that other good shit. But when your country is literally, they tell you what to do, say, and think without any question, and you coming back with this bullshit, this is stupid. But let's continue.
All accounts, places like Cuba and China having far more representation and opportunity for democratic involvement than places like the US. So the way we talk about government structures, characteristics, and actions...
Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. Prove places like China has more representation than what the US has. Prove it. Like, where's your source, bro? Oh, your source is you made it the fuck up. I don't get these people. I don't get these people. Because most of it is just
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
that's all it is. That's all it is. But let's continue.
matters. Without even knowing it, we can end up falling prey to some very subtle, very sophisticated propaganda that primes us to hate people we've never met, whose economic and government structures we know nothing about, and with whom we share far more in common than we do with our own leaders. Okay, fine, but those are just words. Who cares what we call...
We are literally talking about the people. Again, we're talking about the rulers. Again, why are you doing this? Why are you making such horrible conflations? I've said it on this channel. I've said it in real life. I have more in common with the people that's trying to come across the border for a safe life than the people that are in Springfield for me or Washington. Yes, we can say that. The problem isn't the people. But again, people like this who says there are no civilians can't understand bullshit like that. They think country bad. This is so unbelievably stupid because in the end, it's about countries and it's about their leadership. I don't think people in Russia are inexplicably evil. Even the shit that's going on in fucking Ukraine. But what I can tell you is this: the people that's running those motherfucking countries, like Putin, is a fucker. He has some of the same threats against his own people that he would have against the countries around him. That's not me saying all Russians are bad. No, that is literally me saying that some of the leaders are fucked up. But he's trying to conflate. It's like he's trying to move between, conflating the people with the country and then the countries with the leaders. No, that's not how this works. And then I'm sorry for anybody who's above the age of fucking 14. We can realize there are separate entities. But let's go.
All our stuff. All right, let's talk specifics. In a striking 2012 article by Adam Gopnik called The Caging of America, the author notes that, quote, overall, there are now more people under correctional supervision in America, more than 6 million, than were in the Gulag under Stalin at its height.
What were the populations of the country? To just say some shit like that, if I'm living in a country with 20,000 people in 1945, and there are 10% of the population that's in prison. If now in 2000, I'm living in a country with motherfucking 100,000 and it's 10% of the population. That's literally more people by population growth alone. Again, this is bullshit conflation. But let's go.
And this is coming from an American writer with a thoroughly liberal worldview. It's a poignant comparison because, as we all know, Stalin, gulags, and the Soviet Union are the trifecta of what the average person sees as authoritarianism. The fact that we're doing worse than that, even if you buy the inflated numbers of widely debunked books like the Black Book of Communism, should tell you something. And fun fact, the CIA wrote a report in the 50s that the whole Stalin strongman thing was largely a myth. It was just a very useful myth to the capitalist powers, so why not perpetuate it? But I know what you're thinking.
That doesn't mean that he didn't use the myth. That doesn't mean that he didn't use the myth. Oh my God, that's like, okay. A more recent example. Iran, seen as a big terrorist supporting country in the world. And it came out recently that they lost control of those groups a long time ago. That still doesn't stop the myth that they're the big terrorist controlling country in the world when they're not really. They just wound some people up, and now they don't have control of them. Now they're fighting some of the worst people that they actually help support. Because that's how politics work. That's how global politics work. You don't just have control over one group. But let's go.
Everybody knows the US has a thing for prisons. That's like one thing we could ease back on a little bit. That doesn't make the country authoritarian. Let's continue then. How about surveillance? It's pretty widely believed that
this is some bullshit. I think I know where he's about to go. This is some high grade bullshit. Let's go.
citizens of socialist states are the subject of extreme surveillance. But what if I told you that none of them hold a candle to the US? Don't believe me? Take a look at Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Thanks to this piece of legislation, every single person in the United States is the subject of incredibly intense scrutiny. We have a mass surveillance program that allows for the collection of phone conversations, text messages, emails, web searches, and social media messages. Everything you do is being monitored. But wait, it's called the Foreign Surveillance Act, so why are we in the crosshairs? Well, it started out as a way to keep tabs on communications between US citizens and foreign nationals deemed a threat of some kind. But over the last decade or so, the scope of the project has expanded dramatically.
Are we being over surveillance? Yes. Are we willingly being openly surveillance because we're giving, like, this is whatever, like, the people that said the shot, the poke, the jab, put microchips in your blood were the same people that were recording videos on shit like this. They're recording videos on things like this. You know, The microchip that tells you exactly where you're at. That's why I thought it was stupid when they said that bullshit. And we opt in to say, yes, you can spy on me. So I won't have to log in as many times. Oh my God. This is just, I don't know. Let's go.
Was once strictly a counterterrorism tool, which is already incredibly vague and dangerous, has now morphed into a domestic surveillance apparatus where the NSA provides this data to the CIA and the FBI, which they can use to open investigations into any person in the country without a warrant. But what if we want to give U.S. intelligence agents...
And it's been over time and time again. The fact that you're collecting so much data is a security risk because you're not focused on one particular person. He knows this. He knows that this is the shit that has been critical of this. He's just using it as a gotcha, bitch. Like the fuck? Let's go.
...sees the benefit of the doubt. They're just doing their job, right? If you're not a criminal, you have nothing to hide. According...
No. A lot of people that were in the FBI and the NSA were spying on their lovers and girlfriends and boyfriends and husbands and wives. Yeah, no, because people were people were doing bogus shit. Okay, let's go. I hate having to defend this bullshit.
According to a 2022 report, the FBI and CIA conduct millions of these backdoor searches for no legitimate reason. They've pulled data on family members, journalists, political commentators, even government officials. For what reason? Who knows? They want dirt on a politician they don't like, so they read their Twitter.
No, literally, they have said it. They want dirt on people that are close to them and said like, oh yeah, no, fuck, we did. I want to see if that bitch while I was gone was sucking dick. All right, let's go.
Twitter DMs. They saw you in a coffee shop and thought you were cute and asked the barista for your name. That's all they need. Some random intelligence creep can plug in your name, phone number, or email address and have access to years of your personal communications, web activity, address, personal details, all of it. No authoritarian regime in history has ever wielded that kind of surveillance power.
China does. They literally do. And like, don't get me wrong. This isn't a whataboutism. This is no shit. I wonder where the cell phone towers were back in 1942 or in 1946. This level of communication is new, you dumb fuck, and you know this. Oh, the Soviet Union didn't do it. When did the Soviet Union fall? 92. When did we get most of this shit technology at the explosion that did it? 96. But they could have time traveled and went into the future and no shit. Oh my God, this is all right. Like, this shit is crazy. Let's go.
Okay, dystopian prison population, largest surveillance apparatus in history. That all sounds pretty bad. But at least we have the freedom to criticize the
America
government,
bad.
right? The secret police aren't going to come drag us away. Well, I've got some bad news for you there, too. U.S. police are the most vicious and unaccountable in the world by far. There are plenty of videos online of police arresting journalists, brutalizing peaceful protesters, even laughing about killing innocent people. I have a whole video on the subject, actually. But here's the gist of it. According to ongoing reporting, U.S. police kill over 1,000 American citizens per year. 1,000 people. And I can hear the objection already. Yeah, well, some of those people were probably criminals. Police are not meant to be judge, jury, and executioner. They're meant to arrest people if they have to, and then hand them over to the judge, jury, and we really should talk about the executioner part.
So, your criticism about police officer is that they don't have enough training and they're doing their job poorly. And my biggest criticism of police officers, not that they're evil, not that they're corrupt, but they're the biggest criticism I have with police officers, and you guys can probably, disagree with me. They're fucking lazy. They try to do the easiest shit to do their job. They're fucking lazy. The second critique that I have are they're fucking cowards. So they're lazy and they're cowards. But to second thought, they're mustache twirling bad guys. They get their orders like they're fucking putties, and the government is fucking Lord Zed. Fuck. Let's go.
Open social media on any day of the week, and you'll see a story of an officer-involved shooting, where the media tries really hard to twist the reporting to make the cop sound less like a murderer. With body cameras often required these days, it's getting harder for them to hide their crimes, though they still try. Anyway,
and it's almost as if that, you know, there was a thing where body cameras weren't there, and then it was a big push to make sure the body cameras did get there. No, that was like authoritarian state that just says we're going to give you body cameras. Fuck.
The bottom line is this. If we look at any other country on Earth, let's say China, the hot-button supposed authoritarian hellhole of the day, and we compare police violence stats, the US is far worse. In the US, in 2022, police killed 1,201 people. In China, that number is 0. Oh, wait, nope, I read that wrong. 0 people killed by police since 2019, a year when 2 people were killed. 2
How many people were disappeared?
people in 5 years, in a country with a population 4 times greater than the United States. Since 2019, US police have killed nearly 5,000 American citizens. So, we have a more dystopian prison situation, we're the most spied on people on Earth, and our police murder 3 people on average every single day. If that's
America bad. America bad. Let me translate that for you. America bad. Did you know America bad?
not authoritarian, I don't know what is. And this isn't to run defense for the excesses of past and present socialist projects. In fact, socialists are among the loudest and most well-read critics of these experiments. The Deprogram Guys and I have a podcast episode specifically dedicated to the topic, and we plan to do more in the future. The point of all...
And then it came out October 7th that he said there are no civilians that happen to be on October 7th. Yeah, I trust you guys a lot.
This is that if we're going to rightly level criticism at some states, we need to make sure to apply that standard universally. And that means starting at home rather than simply passing judgment on countries halfway around the world or that have long since passed.
Wow, I didn't know. Clean up your room first and then you can actually talk about somebody else. Fucking Jordan Peterson. There we go. There we go.
Okay, that's the liberal part taken care of. Now it's time to have a little chat with my friends on the Western left. The right does a very good job at presenting a unified front. The capitalist class and the forces...
I love how you said the Western left. Tell me the difference between the Western left and other leftists. Tell me the difference. Please tell me the difference. Okay. You're not. Go ahead. Let's go.
...of reaction are incredibly powerful in the imperial core. The left is already on the back foot, and we have been for many, many years. This is why it's frankly absurd how much infighting goes on among the left. Social Democrats sniping at tankies for being authoritarian doesn't do the movement any good.
Wow. He's not going to explain why they snipe at tankies for being authoritarian. He's going to say, y'all shouldn't do it because when we get power, we're going to fucking destroy you like every other time a tanky has gotten power and went after the Social Democrats first. But let's go.
Funnily enough, the label authoritarian is only ever applied to successful socialist projects. The ones that failed were somehow more pure. But
wait, what was successful? What was successful? Please explain to me what countries are successful socialist projects, not just in name only. Okay.
the moment a new system takes steps to ensure the security of their people and their new project, they're labeled authoritarian. I think part of this is that there's a lack of understanding among Western self-professed leftists regarding what it actually takes to change the status quo across an entire country. Every revolution, including bourgeois revolutions like the American one, are authoritarian by default. Those in power will never give up.
When you fight for what you believe in, it's authoritarian. I hit you in the arm, so it's authoritarian. Listen to how fucking watered down that he's trying to make this fucking word, all to cover up the fact that he's a tanky. This is bullshit, man. This is total bullshit. I swear to God, this is bullshit. Because you know what he's trying to do. He's trying to water down this shit. Again, he hasn't given any successful socialist projects. He hasn't. Give us a successful socialist project that's not just name only. All right, let's go.
Up their power without a struggle. They're not going to let you vote out the very system that benefits them. To understand the nature of revolution a little better, let's go back.
What is it? The most ardent revolutionary becomes a staunch conservative the day after? The fuck you say? Dude, literally, he is cosplaying revolution, and to hear people like him telling, "No, I didn't want revolution. No, I don't want a revolution. We need to get socialism, and we need revolution, but I didn't really say we need revolution." The fuck out of here.
Back to the man himself. No, the other one. His sugar daddy. There we go. Friedrich Engels. This large beard wrote a brilliant little piece called On Authority. It's like a page long. None of you have any excuse not to read it. It's linked below. But here's the part that I think is most applicable to this video. Have these gentlemen...
Let's start again. A number of socialists have latterly launched a regular crusade against what they call the principles of authority. It suffices to tell them that this or that act of authoritarianism for it to be condemned. This summary mode of procedure is being abused to such an extent that it has become necessary to look into the matter somewhat more closely. On authority in the sense of which the word is used here means the imposition of the will upon God damn, this even says it. This is literally explaining why authoritarianism and authority are two different things. Authority in the sense of which the word is used here means the imposition of the will of another upon ours. On the other hand, authority presupposes subordination. Now, since these two words sound bad and the relationship which they represent is disagreeable to the subordinate party, the question is to ascertain whether there's any way of dispensing with it, whether given the conditions of present-day society, we cannot create another social system in which authority will be given no scope any longer and would consequently have to disappear. So what this second paragraph is actually saying is, yeah, there's going to be some authority. Is it good? Is it bad? Let's look into it. On examining the economic, industrial, and agricultural conditions from which the bias of present-day bourgeoisie society, we find that they tend more and more to replace isolated action by combined actions of individuals. Modern industry, with its big factories and mills, where hundreds of workers supervise complicated machines driven by steam, has superseded the small workshops of separate producers. The carriages and wagons of highways have become substituted by railway trains, just as the small schooners and selling, I guess we're going to say, flechusas have been by steamboats. Even agricultural fields, increasingly under the domination of machines and of steam, which slowly but relentlessly put in the place of small proprietors, big capitalists who, with the aid of hired workers, cultivate vast stretches of land. This is literally talking about the progression of what we see society and how certain things can't be said, oh, we need to do it like they did it 150 years ago, because things are always changing. Everywhere, combined action and the complication of processes dependent upon each other displaces independent action by individual, but whoever mentions combined actions speaks of organizations. Now it is possible to have organizations without authority. Again, this is talking about leadership, not actual crushing government. Oh God, these people, if he is taking this as authoritarian is just going against leadership in companies because we need to organize people under a group, he's not saying this, is he? He's not that stupid, is he? Supposing the social revolutions dethrone the capitalists, who now exercise their authority over the production and circulation of wealth. Supposing to adopt entirely the point of view of the anti-authoritarians that have the land and the instrument of labor have become collective property of the workers who would use them. Will authority have to be disappeared, or will it only have to change its form? Let's see. Again, this is talking about, well, yeah, this anti-authoritarianism are saying like, no, this anti-authoritarians, they're literally talking about libertarians. They are literally talking about libertarians. All right. Let's take away the best example of the cotton spinning mill. The cotton must pass through at least 6 successive operations before it's reduced to the state of a thread, and these operations take place for the most part in different rooms. Furthermore, keeping the machines going requires an engineer to look after them, after the steam machines to make the mechanics to make the current repairs, and many other laborers whose business is to transfer the products from one room to another, and so forth. All of these workers, men and women and children, are obligated to begin and finish their work at the hours fixed by the authority of the steam, which cares nothing for individual autonomy. The workers must therefore first come to an understanding on the hours of work, and these hours, once they are fixed, must be observed by all without expectation. Thereafter, particular questions rise in each room at every moment concerning the mode of production, distribution of material, etc., which may be settled by decision of a delegated place at the hands of each branch of labor, if possible, but by a majority of vote, the will of a single individual will always have to subordinate itself, which means the questions are settled in an authoritarian way. That's not the same, dog. This is that example of, oh well, what if a factory full of people votes to not keep not to have black people working there? This is exactly the same example. The automatic machinery of the big factory is much more despotic than small capitalists who employ workers have ever been, at least with regards to the hours of work. One might write upon the portals of these factories, leave ye that enter all the autonomy behind. We're almost finished with this, guys. We're almost finished with this. If a man, by a dint of his knowledge and inventive genius, has subdued the forces of nature and latter avenged themselves by subjugating him in such far as he employs them to a veritable despotism, independent of all social organization, wanting to abolish authority in large-scale industry is tantamount to wanting to abolish in the industry itself, to destroy the power loom in order to return to the spending level. Let's take another example. The railway, here too, is a cooperation of an infinite number of individuals, is absolutely necessary, and the cooperation must be practiced during precisely fixed hours that no incidents may happen. Here too, the first conditions of the job is a dominant will that settles all subordinate questions, whether this is a representative by a single delegate or a committee in charge with the execution of the resolution of the majority of persona interested in each case that is very pronounced authority. Moreover, in which happens to be the first train dispatch, if the authority of the railway employees over the Han. Passengers were abolished. Again, this is talking about, this is more focused on how do we make decisions in the workplace. Is it by majority vote, or is it one elected or one who has the power to control the workplace? This has nothing to do with the control of a country, nor does it have to do with how a country is ran. Oh God, this is such dishonesty. Okay, so let's skip down, because again, this is still talking about how things are actually ran. Why do anti-authoritarians not confine themselves to carry out against political authority, the state? Also, socialists are agreed that the political state in which political authority will disappear as a result of coming social revolution. That is, the public functions will lose their political character and will be transformed into a simple administrative functions of watching over the true interests of society. That's bullshit, because we know that there are people that need to just follow orders. Not because they just are told to follow orders. No, there are some people that are comfortable with not thinking for themselves and just following orders. People like this, and I get it, he's an adult. And this is written, what was it? 152 years ago. But there are people that need to just follow orders because that's how they think. And just to say, oh, if we give people freedom, they're going to be able to think for themselves and it's not going to be any problems and socialists will just expand. This is fucking unbelievable. But let's continue. Will be transformed into single administration functions. I read that part already. But the anti-authoritarians deem that the political state can be abolished with one stroke, even before the social conditions gave birth to have it being destroyed. They demand that the first act of a social revolution shall be the abolishment of authority. Have these gentlemen ever seen a revolution? A revolution is certainly the most authoritative thing there is. And the act, whereas part of a population imposes its will upon the other part by means of rifles, bayonets, cannons, authoritarian means, if such there be at all, if it's the victorious party does not want to have fought in vain, it must be maintained by the rules and means of the terror which its arms aspire in reactionists. Would the Paris Commune have lasted a single day if it had made use of its authority of the armed people against the bourgeoisie? Should we not, on contrary, reproach for them not having used it freely enough? Oh my God, he's written a video essay literally trying to compare people who say that, hey, maybe the state shouldn't have this much power, this is what we're fighting for, to people who just like, oh no, it's about authority. That's not what oh my God. This is the problem with the English language. Yes, I get it. But this is so fucking stupid where it is generally just about how, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't use the government to oppress people and control people. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Guys, maybe we shouldn't do that. All right, let's go.
Ever seen a revolution? A revolution is certainly the most authoritarian thing there is. It is the act whereby one part of the population imposes its will upon the other part by means of rifles, bayonets, and cannon. Authoritarian means, if such there be at all. And if the victorious party does not want to have fought in vain, it must maintain this rule by means of the terror which its arms inspire in the reactionists. Would the Paris Commune have lasted a single day if it had not made use of this authority of the armed people against the bourgeois? Should we not, on the contrary, reproach it for not having used it freely enough? Therefore, either one of two things. Either the anti-authoritarians don't know what they're talking about, in which case they are creating nothing but confusion, or they do know, and in that case they are betraying the movement of the proletariat.
this is literally this most avid revolutionary becomes the most hardened conservative the next fucking day. This is literally that. Oh my God, this is literally that. Okay, fuck. Let's go.
In either case, they serve the reaction. While it might not feel good to be called out from beyond the grave, it's so important that we understand what Engels was talking about here, because it's still true today. If a mass of people decide they're done with the current oppressive system, rise up, build something new, and then fail to protect the gains they've made, their project will be destroyed. We've seen it.
I'm good, EXO. Thank you.
Many times throughout history. The reactionary elements in society won't go away, and people with wealth and power before the revolution will still have that wealth, and will have likely fled somewhere like the US where they can agitate for military or CIA intervention. This was the case in Chile in 1973, when the democratically elected socialist president Salvador Allende failed to take preventative measures to ensure the vicious reactionary class and their US-based co-conspirators couldn't undermine them. Long story short, the Chilean right wing launched a US-backed and US-funded coup to overthrow the government, eliminate Allende, and install a fascist military dictatorship that plunged the country into recession and suffering for decades. In order to avoid this happening, a budding socialist project, or heck, any project, requires police, it requires the shutting down of reactionary outlets, the banning of certain kinds of speech. There's a reason Germany banned everything related to the Nazis, for example. It's because they wanted to keep that sentiment from spreading.
So you're just justifying cracking down on people. You're just justifying just cracking down on people because you need to keep them in line, because if you don't keep them in line, then your revolution was for nothing. Not that you make their lives better. Not that you be a better force of good to your people, that they won't go back that way. No, we just have to crack down because reasons. It is the epitome of, oh, now that I have literally, one, I'm about to make sure all the other people pay. The fuck?
Spreading as much as possible. It requires an intelligence apparatus to listen for terrorist plots, which were all too common post-revolution. In East Germany, the reactionaries would routinely attempt to blow up civilian train lines. It requires prisons to keep these people off the streets. And historically speaking, the socialists have been much better at using prisons for rehabilitation rather than just packing human beings away to rot like we do in the US. These things may not be morally correct, but like it or not, they are necessary.
I love how he just blew over the whole, we need secret police, even though when the US do is bad. We need prisons, even though when the U.S. does is bad. We need, state-controlled media to limit people's freedom. Everything, that authoritarian definition that he did back at the beginning of the video actually said authoritarianism, deference, or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government, at the expense of personal freedom. Like, for real. For real, he is literally making apologetic for this shit. That's why he said the definition was bad, because he fit it so well.
For rehabilitation rather than just packing human beings away to rot like we do in the US. These things may not be morally correct, but like it or not, they are necessary. And that's something that every system has agreed on. I would love nothing more than to see an alternative work, but it never has. Maybe one day I'll be proven wrong. That would be amazing.
So wait. Wasn't he just saying that we shouldn't believe the U.S. propaganda that's been fed to us about these countries? And when I brought up the fact that this is the shit that they said they do, now he's saying, yeah, they did the shit, but it's okay because socialism? The fuck? Damn it.
But to the people who believe it is possible, you need to ask yourself how it's going to happen. We've seen what the people in Tsarist Russia had to do. We've seen what the Cubans had to do. We've seen what the Vietnamese had to do, what the Chinese had to do, what the Americans had to do to separate from the British. Your anti-authoritarianism, while I genuinely believe it comes from a good place, is handing an easy victory to the capitalist regime.
You first. If you think that it is great, stop being an entertainer. Stop being an informant. You first. You go live your life as a revolutionary in America. All the jokes that these people like to do about the Hicks that like to cosplay as oh, they're going to take over America and all that other good bullshit. You first. Motherfucker, you can't take off your uniform. I wear my uniform. You want this fucking revolution. You want shit to be so bad that people rise up against the capitalist system. You want this revolution, but you're not willing to do shit for it because you sitting your rich ass doing a second channel about power and sports cars. And you just sit back and say, well, I'm an entertainer. I'm just lapsadaisical. Just give me, no, you first. Fuck.
They want you to play by their rules. It's their game. You play by their rules, you lose. End of story. One final thing that's important to note is that this anti-authoritarian stance is very much a Western thing. And I think the reason for that is that we here in the Imperial Core are in a very privileged...
Again, this whole, unironically, Imperial Core. Say America, dog. Just say America. Say America. Say America, because America bad. Isn't an Imperial Core in China that's trying to take over countries around the China Sea, that's claiming different parts of the country, that's actively practicing in imperialism through India, Nepal, motherfucking Tibet? Oh God, imperialism that Russia is actively doing now. But it's not imperialism when the countries are socialist or descendants of socialist countries. It's only America bad. Fuck these people.
position. We can hold these naive beliefs because we don't have any skin in the game. We're not the ones under the boot. We're not the ones whose resources are being extracted, or whose homes are being bombed, or whose cities are being occupied by armed invaders in the name of freedom and democracy.
Said as somebody who's literally doing a second channel about power in sports cars. Do you know the U.S. literally has the same maternal mortality rates as some poorer countries? You're not experiencing it because you have your rich friends that live in the States, like, I don't know, Hassan Nabi, who literally is a Nepo baby of a doctor, and I think his mother was a lawyer or some shit like that, whose grandfather owned a company enough for his son to spawn a media empire. You do a second channel that does power cars. Again, you want this revolution, dog. When you can't take off your uniform, when you have to live day to day and be seen as an enemy without even knowing what your political beliefs are, I make no doubts that I've espoused leftist beliefs. I get that shit. I said, cool. But literally, you can take off your uniform. I can't. But let's continue.
We have the luxury of condemning others because we've never been on the receiving end. Think for just a moment what it would be like if your neighborhood was occupied by a foreign military force, doing unspeakable things to your friends and loved ones, taking your belongings, burning homes.
Asset seizure. Fuck. These people, if they actually just thought about shit. And this isn't just, oh, I'm black and so I have to deal with this. No, you not living in this country as a minority. These are the people that want to do, oh, we need to make things as bad as we will so more people can uprise. That's not how human beings work. If that was the case, people would uprise in North Korea, the Soviet Union. It took other shit. People live and eat shit. If they feel like they have, like, if they eat shit together, things may turn out different. Nah, okay, I'm doing the has been no tell thing. But no. especially when they told that it's as bad as this is. You can't get any better, and you conveniently put people in front of them that have it worse and say, at least you're not them. God, these people are so fucking. All right, let's go.
Torturing people in the name of national security. What means would you resort to in that situation? I can't answer that for you, but it's something to think about. I know this has been kind of a heavy video, and for a lot of you, I'm sure this is the first time you've been asked to look at your home country more critically. If you're interested in learning more about any of the stuff we've talked about, there are links in the description. We all have a responsibility to choose our words carefully, apply labels correctly, and hold our own nations to the same standard we expect others to meet. Maybe it's time we retire the word authoritarian and try to engage with the facts more precisely, more honestly, and in good faith. This is a really interesting topic when you dig into it, and as you might expect, vaguely...
All right, this is just his outro. This shit is fucking crazy, man. When you think about these people and what they actually believe and what they actually want to actually say is that they just want to say America bad. And I get it. If you want to say America bad, cool, say that. But don't act as if that, oh no, it's for real. America bad. You just literally just want to say that. But it's cool. It is fine. You want to have your America bad moment? Hey, that's fine. Just don't come at me and act as if shit came down the fan, you gonna really stand up to your motherfucking, you're gonna really stand up on your principles and be like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna really stand up and we're gonna fight. And no, not when your claim to fucking fame is literally to say that I'm just an entertainer. I'm just an entertainer. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. It's a little bit longer than what I thought, but I think I'm gonna do more second thought videos and just kind of like go into it. And yeah, we're gonna have those conversations. We're gonna definitely have those conversations.
Thank you for watching this video, and the next one should be popping up on your screen. Subscribe, and if you haven't checked it out and want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon. Thanks.